In this video, we'll look at taking an ER model, like the one we have for the medical clinic, and changing it into a relational model, making use of the tool MySQL Workbench, which is very convenient for doing stuff like that, and then taking that model that we create and creating a database with it. So if you installed MySQL Workbench along with the MySQL server, you will find that your first screen looks like this, and you have a connection to the local host here. You can make other connections to other databases that might be remote, but we have a local server here. When I click that, I get the opportunity to put in my password and log in to the local server. So you can see here I'm logged into localhost, and I can take a look by clicking on server status. I can take a look at the current status of my server, which of course is running because I was able to log into it, and its usage is very low because I'm the only person using it because it's running on my local machine. So now what we want to do is we want to make a relational model. So Workbench has a tool. You can go up here to the menu and click New Model. New Model takes you to a screen with a lot of information on it, but we want to create a model using the diagramming tool. So here at the top we see Add Diagram, where I'm going to double click it and get to the diagramming tool. So here we can start drawing our relational model and defining all the details of it. But first we need to remember the rules for changing from ER to relational. So let's look back at this ER model and remember that the first rule was that regular tables, regular entities turn into tables. So here we have the regular entities are shown in green: employee, pharmacy, patient, and clinic. The ones shown in blue are kind of special. Doctor and clinic worker are subclasses, and appointment is a weak entity. So let's first do the employee, pharmacy, patient, and clinic. So here we have a little toolbar, and along the toolbar we see something that looks like a tiny table, and sure enough that's what it is. So we'll place the ones we're going to make: employee, pharmacy, patient, and clinic was kind of over here. Now you can double click on these and it opens a menu at the bottom where you have lots of tabs for all kinds of information that you can enter about your table. But of course the most important thing is its name. So the first table is the employee table, and then let's do this one, the clinic table. Let's click over here and put the name of the pharmacy table. And finally, let's do the patient table. Now, the next rule was that simple attributes become columns in the table. Composite attributes, each component becomes a column or attribute in the table, and derived attributes also just become plain attributes, and the key attribute becomes the primary key of the table. So let's do the columns of the patient table. So let me click on this and come to the columns tab. And you see that it's already pre-filled with a column name for the first column called ID patient, but in my ER model it's called patient ID, so I'm going to retype it, well, patient ID. And to get another column, you just click below it, and then you can start typing in. And you always get a default name, but you can name them whatever you want. And I'm going to come back and change some of the information about these. I'm going to replace the default information. So I'm going to do date of birth, date of birth. I'm going to do age. As we said, it just becomes a regular column or attribute. And then for the address, the three components that I've modeled just become simple attributes. So street, city, and country. Now look at all these attributes. We see that we have some things. They're data type and some little items to check. So the first one, PK, primary key, NN, not null, UQ, unique, bin, binary, and so on. I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's, well, plenty of things here that we can fill in. Let's just do the basic ones. So the first column, it by default got set to primary key, not null. And that's fine because it was the one we intended to be the primary key. And if you look up here in the diagram, it's hard to see, but you will see on your own screen that a little key is next to patient ID, and then the data type. Okay, so patient ID as an int seems fine. Person's name as a variable length character string of size 45 seems fine, but date of birth, no. So if you click on this, you get offered all kinds of data types, and the very basic ones are at the top. So your birthday isn't a date time, it's a plain date. So I'm going to select date, and you can have a look at all these data types and learn what they mean, especially as you're working on your final project. So age is an int, and street, yeah, 45, city 45, but the country is certainly not 45, and it's actually not variable. I'm looking for the fixed character of size 2, because country code is a 2-character field. So here I've put in all the attributes of the patient table, and now we'll break while I enter all the rest of these.